press this. All right, we're going. So, why don't you say your name real quick?
Dr. Drew.
Dr. Drew.
And
he's going to go over my brain scans.
What we're looking at right now is power spectrum, what we call absolute power of the different frequencies inside your brain. So it goes all the way from the lower frequencies here, very slow frequencies to delta. And then as it gets faster in frequencies, beta, and then alpha, beta, and high beta. And this ranges from sleep to dreams to meditation to the thought process. We're now much more beta.
Okay.
And then action is much more high beta.
Okay.
And we have a range. What we're looking for is more of a clear map, so it would show white here. And this is within the spectrum of what we want for optimal functioning. Anything outside of that shows a deviation.
Okay.
Right? So the level of deviation goes to color, and it can be low or high, depending on what frequency and where in the brain. So we're looking at this as, hey, delta is showing a very low, so about 3 deviations low here centrally. Now, what does that mean? It means a couple different things, and it could be lack of sleep. It could be a metabolic function that's not going well. So if you have severe gut issues that's using too much of your metabolism or not providing you the nutrients that you need, it can show up.
Familiar?
This shows up all the time. So many people are depleted this way.
This shows the depletion that I've had from the results.
Yeah. So the first thing I always target is people's, whether it's mold or parasites or a deficiency, a nutrient deficiency, and sleep. Those are like 4 major things.
So say those again. Sleep, mold.
Sleep, mold, toxins. Mold would be toxin too, but just a different type.
Got it.
Fungus and molds. Toxins, they could be everything from heavy metals to glutens, dairy, things like that could affect you based on the physiology of the intestines.
Okay.
And then also severe sleep deprivation, sleep apnea, sleep disorders, things like that.
Okay.
And so many things are what they call comorbid, so they work together. So you have one thing and you can have other things. They work together to lead you into dysfunction. So guess what happens when you don't have good enough nutrients, good enough sleep? Everything else suffers. So it brings you to a point where you're just right above day-to-day activities, but if anything really hits you hard, you drop hard.
Okay. That makes sense. How fast would this change with diet and sleep? Because I've been doing the better. I found out all my issues like 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd say for the last week, I've been taking supplements, fixing the sleep.
It can change very quickly. So it can change within a month, 6 weeks, or up to 6 months. Just depend on the healing process, the inflammation process.
So I'm on the right track. Just this is showing the issues from the last several years of riding hard.
Honestly, it would have been good to get your brain map
2 weeks ago
before you started on your optimal. But we've caught it here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm only a week in, so I bet this is better than it was.
I don't want you going back to that.
Right.
So we can take a look. Right. No. We're showing a little bit of just lower power here in theta, alpha, and in beta. This is over the right temple region. So this can, I'm not too worried. This is just like a 1 to a 1.5 deviation, so it's not even really a concern.
Okay.
When you get up here in the right side of the brain, in beta, and it's a little bit lower, you get brain fog. And this could have been a lot worse before. So brain fog, an inability to hold back on things so you can be reactive, especially in this right prefrontal area. So
Okay.
it's an emotional response, and it can go two ways. It could be no to everything, or I can't hold back when I'm really weak.
Okay.
Being obstinate, things like that. Neurologically, you're just, the automatic aspect can be no, or it could be whatever is going on. You want it, or just let it happen, basically.
Okay.
Okay. And that's just a weaker area. So beta, once it comes up in its level of power, that means you can control that area. Okay.
Okay.
Not too concerned. It's a very low.
And beta's the focus productivity
Yeah.
waves, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying that one it's not terrible. It's just like one standard deviation off, so it's weaker than the other, than theta and alpha,
Right.
and high beta.
And it can lead to things like we just talked about.
Being obstinate,
Yeah.
brain fog.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're saying like in a stressful situation, what would I tend to do because of this?
Well, and you can go two ways. You can become very obstinate, or you can. This is when you can't hold back, and you have food that you shouldn't be eating at night later on, or having a drink, or something to cope.
Got it.
Basically.
Okay.
This is when the weakness occurs.
So I could potentially create coping mechanisms because of this.
Yes.
Got it. Interesting. Why would I want to create the coping mechanisms? Because my brain is saying I'm not strong enough to resist it, or
Yeah, it's looking for an escape because it doesn't have the energy or the ability to control that area in the brain.
got it.
That would normally tell you, no, you don't need that extra shot tonight.
All right.
It's one of those, kind of Calgon take me away moments. I don't want to hear, I don't care why, just take me away, please.
All right.
Okay.
And
Now-
then can you go up real quick? So explain the delta absolute power one that's my weakest. What does that wave length explain?
So this, we look at kind of like the base frequency that carries everything. There's some
Okay.
potentials below that, but this is kind of like the base frequency that carries everything. Think of it like this. It's like your ocean. And if the ocean is low, you're going to run into a lot of rocks.
Okay.
So when the ocean is high, you're sailing, it's much smoother. Your ability to control yourself is much better.
Does it mean I'm in like a high fight or flight mode, or does it just mean I'm depleted of sleep and nutrients?
But both. So
Okay.
here's how that applies, and we look at this differently in Chinese medicine, right? Not just in neurology. So within this, what happens is the system doesn't have enough energy to control itself. So the weakness is, the cracks show up. And we call this like a false heat in Chinese medicine.
Okay.
So when the system is too low, it'll seem like there's fire in the system or overreactivity, right?
Okay.
But it's because that's too low. Once that comes up, all that stuff falls away.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that's the stuff we're doing this week?
We'll be working on this.
Yeah. Are you going to redo it all at the end, or is it?
When we start training tomorrow, we always record every day.
Okay.
So it's ongoing. Where you're going to see the results, though, are in 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
It's like going to the gym and doing squats.
Yep.
You don't test your squat max at the end of your squat session.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You wait a week or 2 weeks and then you test it again. So
Got it.
We'll be looking at it then.
Okay.
And typically people will come back and either do a local practitioner to get a brain map, or come up here and we'll just do a brain map on you.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Coherence is communication. So what we're looking at is communication between areas in the brain and frequency specificness. So in alpha, we have some areas here that are not communicating well, a little bit slow. So this can affect recovery, this can affect your ability to self-soothe in the moment and recover in the moment, and also to have like these epiphanies too. So in order for us to really catch the moments between too much action, we want those brief respites happening.
Okay.
And when the communication is not happening in this frequency, we miss those moments. So it's easier to burn out, basically.
Okay.
And then as we look up...
So what does that mean practically speaking? Like when I'm going through my day?
When you're going through your day, you're not recovering well and you're crashing earlier.
Okay. That's true.
So it's, you're not able to sit down on a bench and mentally relax in moments.
Yeah.
And if you do that a few times a day, all of a sudden you have more resilience going forward.
It's so crazy because like I have this Whoop on, which is like my recovery score and HRV, and I'm like the highest out of all of our friends, like 15 guys that all do Peloton and CrossFit. I have the best recovery physically, but mentally I feel always exhausted.
Yeah.
So this is like a mental recovery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Can it lead to a physiological low? Absolutely, but
Yeah. No, I can't shut off. I cannot shut off my brain.
Right.
Like that's my problem.
And here's where we see that.
Yeah. So
The
what's
high
that?
beta, this is, hey, I need to get into action. If I don't get into action, I'm going to die.
So high beta is, what does all that red mean? Terrible?
That means
Can you see this? That's my high beta.
so
Alpha.
this is communication, right? And this is area, when one is firing, the other is firing. So it's like a 5-alarm fire.
Oh gosh.
going
Okay.
on.
Okay.
And this is what you're basically...
So this means that I feel like to myself mentally I'm always on a 5-alarm fire?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Well, tell me you're not tell me you're not in action mode.
I'm always in action.
Yeah. So
I don't know how. I mean, I'm learning this week, but I don't know how to turn it off.
yeah. So
Like at all times, there's like a rank and file of like
have-tos.
problems
Yeah.
to solve, issues that going on, fires. I get 300 emails every 2 days.
But you have those all the time.
Yeah.
Whether you feel compelled to do them or not. This is you feeling compelled, and if you didn't, think of how you would feel if you didn't have those emails at all.
At peace.
Would you?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think so. I think I'd be less stressed about it.
You would be less stressed, but you would still be so engaged to move forward on something that you would have trouble holding back. You couldn't be with you. You would be seeking those emails,
So you say this is me being an arsonist?
basically, neurologically. So it's not quite an arsonist, but what you're doing is setting yourself up for high action all the time. It doesn't quiet down.
Okay, how much of that is a benefit and how much of that is terrible?
Well, it's
Like, what if I had nothing on there?
But-
no drive, no...
well, so we could have a deficit like blue and things like that, and a lack of drive, right? You want the ability to control this.
Right.
On when you want it on, off when you want it off. It's like having a car in your garage running at full speed. You don't want that. When you're out on the highway, that's awesome. But when you're parking, no.
Is that why my deficiency was on the Delta? Do you think?
No, I think that has more to do with
gut, nutrients, and
Yeah.
sleep. Okay, just being depleted.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like one of my greatest talents in entrepreneurship and work is the tenacity, and one of my greatest weaknesses is tenacity, like not being able to shut it off.
Yeah, but having control over that is going to be key.
Yeah.
And we're not shutting off that tenacity. We're giving you the ability to control it.
That would be amazing.
So it's kind of like having a few people at the end of a fire hose. If you have one person, it's pretty insane. It blows you all over the place. If you have a few people, all of a sudden it's like, wow, okay, we can control this level of stream, basically. Okay.
Okay. Not that I want to compare to everybody else, but is this like really bad? Like, is that like the worst you've seen?
No.
Okay, good. Is it on the pretty bad side?
I can. You are not at the level that I've seen before. So I've seen some heavy pathologies, and this is nowhere near.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I don't have psychosis, but I've got issues.
But what you have is overdrive. And it's not necessarily a bad thing.
I get it.
It's just a matter of.
Well, but going public, having companies, trying to put food on 500 people's tables, puts me for years and years now in overdrive.
But
especially when COVID hit, I could feel my body just tense.
But it also leads to burnout.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So, like neurologically, if we're looking at CEOs, we want to drive like this. But we want that CEO to be able to turn that off appropriately so they last longer than 3 to 5 years.
That's such a profound statement. Can you say that again? Because there's a lot of people that are going to watch this.
So
that's very profound.
What we're looking at is longevity of drive. We're looking at the production of resilience. Your ability to rise to the occasion when needed, but also to recover when needed.
Got it. Yeah, no, wow. I have been on such overdrive. And there's so much pressure from the public markets, from customers, from investors, from like there's just coming from all angles. I think when COVID hit, personally, a lot of my friends and I felt like Atlas for a long time.
Yeah, you have to hold up everything.
Yeah, we literally felt like, because a bunch of people retreated to home and watched Netflix. I didn't sleep for like 2 months. I was transforming my businesses to go digital and trying to save people's jobs and deplete all my resources cash-wise to keep everyone going. I felt like I was carrying the world on my back. And so were all my close entrepreneur friends. Everybody, when October and November came around, I cannot tell you how many people just like broke, including me. Like the breakdown for me was not alone. It happened to about a dozen other people that I'm friends with in like Genius Network or Strategic Coach. We all just crashed. And it was because for 6-7 months, we were on absolute overdrive.
Yeah, without any respite, without any help from an outside source to bring you those resources you need for support. And people couldn't come back online because they were, whether they had to stay at home or couldn't do this or couldn't do that. But a lot of people checked out. A lot of people actually just retreated, like you said, back into Netflix or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Rather than nurture themselves and build themselves up to help everything else, they didn't get into a meditation practice. They didn't start exercising. They didn't start building resiliency in themselves to help out and clasp hands. So if you have a whole bunch of people clasping hands, the strength is innumerable, right?
Yep.
But if those people have separated and retreated, then you can't support a structure.
Yeah, that's really good. Man, that's profound. I never realized that I'd see that. You literally just told the story of the last 7 years of my life without knowing me
but
at all.
Yeah, but I look at this and I don't look at your story.
Right.
So we want to be objective about what we're looking at in the brain. but we also want to be objective about how we can bring you back from this brink of neurological inefficiencies.
Yep.
And it's very doable.
Okay.
Yeah, this will be part of the training that we're doing here, the stimulation, the 3D modeling of the brain that you'll be watching and training with and interacting with. Okay.
That's good. Okay.
So if we, let me pull this up.
I can tell you've been doing this for a long time. How many years did you say you were doing this?
96 is when I got into this.
25 years.
So if we look at kind of more of a the deficit where you're at. So we combine EEG along with fMRI to obtain this data.
Okay.
So we're looking at your brain in 3D, basically. And then we look at areas that are basically too low or underperforming metabolically. So we want to clear this up, and that's why we'll be
The dark blues?
the dark blues.
So there, and maybe a little bit.
Right, and this is the effect. I mean, other areas we can't see because
Okay.
it's not neurons. Like if you did a SPECT scan with glucose metabolism, right, that's very different than what we're looking at electrically. So this is the electrical components of what we can see.
Okay.
So within this, we want to build this back up. And that really gets back up into a level here to build you up. Okay?
Okay.
And all of a sudden, you'll have a lot more resiliency. You're not hitting those rocks, right?
Yep.
And metabolically, if the gut is clean and doesn't have all that stuff going on, the parasites, the mold, the histamine response of glutens, all the bad stuff, it's going to clear up the brain fog. The gut is so key to the brain. If the gut isn't clear, you could do everything for the brain. We could train all day.
Yeah.
But you would fold neurologically because that's not set up. The majority of neurotransmitters are built in the gut too. So if you want to kneecap yourself, shortchange yourself during this, you eat bad, basically.
Okay. Which I don't want to do.
Right.
I didn't know that most of the neurotransmitters were built in the gut. That's good
Yeah.
to know. I don't think anybody knows really how important gut health really is. I mean, people are starting to in the functional medicine world, but you don't hear it mainstream ever.
No, because one of the hardest things for any doc to do, you have your MD or your osteopaths or your functional medicine doctor or your naturopath or your acupuncturist. Any of these people, the hardest thing to do is change someone's diet.
Mm.
They'll take a pill, they'll take an injection. They don't want to change their routine at home. Whether it's, the ice cream at night, that sandwich at lunch,
Sure.
the bagel and the sugar bomb, Starbucks sugar bomb in the morning,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Sugar and gluten and all these things that do affect the system. And the mainstream wants to say that's okay. It's not okay. And we see these deficits. Riding at the level, on a vitamin level, that's just above disease is not functioning.
Mm.
That's
so good.
That's like having a car that, you have just enough gas to get to work, maybe enough oil, and 3 tires are low.
Right.
You're waiting for a disaster. So if any one of those things go out, you're screwed.
That's me. I mean, that's how I felt
Right.
the last year, probably a year and a half.
But tell me, if you have a well-functioning car that's everything's primed, you feel a lot better.
Yeah.
And you have the power.
And I already, by the way, feel a lot better just in the last week and a half of doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm still super low.
Yeah.
Like
So
it's gonna be a long-term thing.
What does this really show? Your potential. So think of where you're at right now. Now double or even triple your feeling of wellness overall.
Oh, that'd be great. Be freaking
Right.
amazing.
So don't think to yourself, hey, I'm stuck here.
Right.
This is, okay, you're at this level. When you're at your prime, you're going to feel even better. And
you want this delta basically white.
Yeah.
Right? That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're going to work on resilience areas in the brain. So we're going to work on areas that are very new to training. We're going to work on the cerebellum in you to bring up that resilience. So these areas will help with emotional regulation. It'll help with your overall resilience, so that you're not burning out at the end of the day.
Yep.
Basically, you have a bucket, right?
Yeah.
And you have so many decisions you can make during the day. And let's say you have a whole bunch of golf balls or ping pong balls in a bucket. And you make a decision on what to wear and what to eat and what kind of email to go through.
Yep.
When that bucket is empty, you're toast. But when we work on these areas, we can give you a much bigger bucket. A lot more capacity to deal with those things. But you also want to think about becoming more efficient in your life too.
Yeah.
Think of Steve Jobs. Why did he wear the same thing every day?
Right. Less decisions.
Less minor decisions that take away from the bucket. So he can make major decisions when it counted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. If I could have my decisions figured out of like food and wearing, all the little things, just have a simple routine, I've got enough decisions to make it
And
work.
that's where simple routines are brilliant in life. And this is for everyone.
Yeah.
Make the difficult things simple. You're unable to create genius in a flourish of depletion. Some people pull it out.
I feel like I have been pulling it out for years.
Michael Jordan could pull it out. But how many of us have that underlying aspect all the time?
Okay, this is good.
Okay.
Yep.
So this will be our focus this week, is really giving you that control over that hyperconnectivity.
How do you turn it off? That's what I'm just trying to figure out. Is like,
Wow.
I don't know how to shut it off. Like the moment I get quiet,
So
boom, that happens.
In the pod, we're training a very specific area in your brain, right? We're training these areas that talk to each other, and we're telling it how to time itself. So we're changing the timing in the brain to be appropriate and to control itself.
Got it.
So let me show you something.
This is really good, by the way. I'm learning a bunch. I've even felt for the last couple of years, I was like, I just need like a month. I need like a month. Just nobody talk. I need to sleep. I need to recuperate.
And that's a wise thought, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a feeling I've had so much.
But if you go back to the same,
Right,
like what you had before, then you'll need that every other month.
Yeah. Wow. I think I'm a walking case study of the toll of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a cautionary tale, but hopefully I'm figuring this stuff out before my life is in really big
Yeah,
problems.
but you're building out of that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but so many people don't have these. They're not getting the tracking. They're not doing the tests. They're not seeing what this stuff's doing to their body.
Right.
I'm not abnormal. I'm just an entrepreneur that's trying to make it work.
Right.
And just working 90 hours a week to get it, because I am a self-starter. I am autonomous. I like to have the control. I don't work for other people. I'm unemployable.
So let's look at your brain in 3D. So this is a representation of your brain in 3D, right?
Yeah.
So what we do is take all this fun data.
Oh dear. You sure you want this to be public information?
And so how do we set up resilience? Like what we call a default mode network, right? So when your default mode network should be controlling everything, when you close your eyes and you're meditating, it should be very quiet. If it's overactive, what happens neurologically is you're burning energy and you're burning your candle at both ends. So this should be clear. When I turn this on, it should be clear, right? There should be no dots or lines or anything here. If it were within the spec of what
So
we
this
want.
is what a 15-year effed up photographic memory that can't turn off is going to turn into.
So you see all the
Oh,
areas, you know, the hubs and the connections between them. So you're overthinking over here, your amygdala's on fire, everything is...
I'm not laughing because of this, I'm just like...
Hypervigilance, you can see how this is connected frontally, so, oh no, I see something, I see my email, we have to do something about it right now or you're going to die.
It's like torture.
Yeah.
My brain is tortured.
So once it quiets down, all of a sudden those voices go away.
Wow. On an average day, I probably have 25 fires to deal with.
Yeah. And the fires won't necessarily go away in that sense. Your reaction to them will.
Wow.
You start getting a high level view of things rather than being in the fire. If you zoom out
Yeah.
and you go, oh,
I'm not in it.
yeah, we can go here and here. Much easier to direct from that place.
Yeah, my answer, I don't want the answer from all this to just be escape
Right.
and quit and
But you
get
want to
healthy.
be tactical,
I have to be tactical.
not reactive.
Wow. Man.
That's why you have generals, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like when I was on a sub, we're very tactical about where we're going to be, how we're going to be placed, what we're doing, rather than running around chasing things.
Yep.
You know, just because they're there.
So say those things again. What does the green dots all mean? Those are the hubs.
So the dots are the hubs. The
Okay.
lines are the connections. So think of these as cities.
Okay.
Think of the lines as the roads between them. Think of a grid, or even counties like LA County,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Or, you know, you're here local, right? So we're in Seattle. This is the 405, this is the 5, you know, at 8 a.m. or 5 p.m., right?
Yeah.
Traffic doesn't move well. Now, if the timing was correct and people knew how to drive here,
Right.
it would be beautiful, you know. But right now we have rain, we have aggressive people, we have people that shouldn't be driving, all this stuff going on. So there's a lot of inefficiencies that happen.
Got it.
So the timing is off. Think of the symphony. Everyone can play, but they don't play in time. Their beat is off. They're playing too loud or too softly. They're not playing in conjunction. They're not playing the right note, maybe.
Yeah.
So once that symphony is tuned, all of a sudden, this becomes beautiful. And a lot of these areas disappear on my chart because they're within their optimal functioning range.
Got it.
Okay?
Yeah. So it's good that they're firing. They're just firing nonstop in rush hour traffic 24/7.
Right.
Wow. And when you took these scans, I was trying to be in a peaceful, calm.
This is your normal operating
I was
mode.
literally
Yeah.
staring out at a sunny, beautiful, meadowy hill.
Yeah. You would.
trying to calm down and relax my jaw so that you could get the scans, and
Right.
not after a stressful environment, after pod time. It's crazy. This is like the calmest I'll ever be. Well, until this point.
Yeah, and that will change drastically.
Okay.
Okay? So this is what we'll be targeting.
Okay. Where's my amygdala, did you say?
Well, part of it's going to be represented. See these?
Yeah,
We're gonna,
those main hubs.
yeah,
It's just on fire.
on fire. So here's the cool thing. The amygdala is one of those things that can be built in two different ways. You can feed it in different ways. One is you can feed it hate and anger, and it becomes really good at threat detection and reactivity. And that ties directly into the insula, right? And everything's, you know, if I wanted to have a SEAL team ready for, that's exactly how.
Well, fire the amygdala,
fire
all
the
cylinders.
amygdala is just, you know, everything's a threat.
Yeah.
You know, you have that dog that, you know, any noise is like
Pit bull,
you
yeah.
know, right. Then you have the other side of the amygdala that you can train for love and peace, basically, and that will actually grow in the same way. And all of a sudden, you don't recognize hate and fear and anger as well. You recognize love, and you start resonating that. But then you become the pendulum, right? So in that pendulum, that reactivity measure goes way down, and you become the pendulum for everyone else around you, and they start resonating in that peace that you're at. And all of a sudden, everyone feels calm around you. They feel really engaged with who you are in that moment, and all of a sudden
Wow.
that they can operate differently too.
Yeah.
And
Incredible.
that's where you're a real leader.
Yep, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
That's
A
beautiful.
real leader is cool and calm and focused during anything. Not a very good leader, or kind of like a middle manager, would be just screaming, hair on fire, and shouting and angry and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay?
I definitely internalize a lot of this, I think, though.
Yeah, but we see how that pays off.
No, I know. I'm definitely not screaming and yelling. I think I'm just, my brain is.
Yeah. And a lot of people do that. But people can feel that. Your
Yeah.
coherent aspect
Right.
of the heart is going to interact that way too. But if it's in tune, all of a sudden your coherence affects everyone else around you.
Yep.
Because they know everything's going to be okay. Because of your resonance.
That's good. Okay.
And it's the difference between someone leading and someone being in the corner crying and not able to even deal with an email.
Yeah. It's good.
Okay. There we go.
Anything else?
Not right now. We'll get more in depth.
Is that it?
That's the main points that we want to hit on.
All right.
We'll be able to get into more once you start training, and then you'll notice. And I want you to be able to feel these adjustments happen.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Excited.